Hello students, here I am today with the exercise of the lesson, the Prime Minister and the Council of Ministers. In the previous class, I had discussed about the 6 of the questions in the short answer type questions. With 7th question, we will go today. The 7th question is, who is the head of the Union Council of Ministers? And the answer is, Prime Minister is the head of the Union Council of Ministers. Question 8. How does the Parliament exercise an effective control over the Council of Ministers? The Parliament exercises control over the Council of Ministers by asking questions, passing motions of no confidence motion, and even the adjournment motion. Question 9. How long can a minister stay in office? The minister stays in office in the pleasure of the president and as long as it gets support from the majority. Question 10. State the cabinet's role in the formulation of policies of the government. The cabinet formulates both external and the internal policies of the government. Then question 11. Under what provision can a non-member of parliament be made a minister? The provision during the lessons I had said, she or he has to be elected or to be nominated to the parliament within the period of 6 months after having been appointed as a minister. Question 12. By whom and on whose advice is the Council of Ministers appointed? By the President and on the advice of the Prime Minister. The Council of Ministers is appointed. Question 13. Mention the qualifications which a person should possess to be eligible for appointment as a minister. After the general elections, the members of the majority party appointed as a minister, and to become a minister, he or she must be a member of the parliament and must be a member of the majority party. Question 14. What is the position of the Prime Minister under the parliamentary system of government? The parliamentary system government follows the Prime Minister as the real head of the nation. Question 15. How is the Prime Minister a link between the cabinet and the President? All decisions made in the cabinet meetings are informed to the President by the Prime Minister. Because the Prime Minister informs the decision made in the cabinet meetings, he forms to be a link between the two. Question 16. Mention 3 ways in which the Constitution ensures the preeminent position of the Prime Minister in relation to the Council of Ministers. The Prime Minister is head of the Council of Ministers. As head, selects the Council of Ministers, so he is master over them, can allocate them portfolio or different department, and can reshuffle the ministry. Hence, he is the head of the Council of Ministers. Next question is 17. How can we say that the Prime Minister occupies a unique position in the Parliament? The Prime Minister is the leader of the nation. The Prime Minister is also the chief spokesperson of the government and is answerable to the people of the country. As the leader of the nation, the Prime Minister is also answerable to the people. Question 18. What are the powers of the Prime Minister as the chairperson of the cabinet? As the chairperson of the cabinet, all decisions are made in the cabinet headed by the Prime Minister. Prime Minister heads the cabinet where all decisions are made. The Prime Minister leads to the ministers in the cabinet for the coordination in the working of all departments. He also allocates the portfolios. He also has power to dismiss a minister. They were all the short questions that we had to discuss. Question number 2 has the structure questions. Structure question number 1A has, with reference to the powers and functions of the cabinet, explain the administrative functions. Under the administrative functions of the cabinet makes the policies of the government, takes all decision on the matters of the government policies such as the defense or the economic policy or external affairs. The cabinet also implements the policies after formulating them, informs other categories of ministers. Cabinet ministers remain present while making decisions. They have a duty to inform the other ministers such as the ministers of state and the deputy ministers, and all the cabinet ministers coordinate the functions of all the departments. That was question number 1A. 1B, 3 legislative functions of the cabinet. Introduction of the bill, I had said 95% of the bills in the house is introduced by the cabinet. The cabinet is a source of information. They inform the other members of the parliament. Parliament members may ask questions and they have to answer, give the information about the decisions made. Amendment of the constitution is also a legislative power which is initiated by the cabinet. The cabinet initiates the amendment of the constitution. And the president speaks on the first day of the new session and after the general elections, that is known as presidential address, is also prepared by the cabinet. They are the legislative powers of the cabinet. Next is the financial. The cabinet ministers led by the finance minister prepares the budget for the ensuing year. The cabinet is also responsible for the expenditure of the government in the country. The cabinet introduces the money bills in the Lok Sabha. These are a few these are a few financial powers of the cabinet. In the next we have another question, that is, the constitution provides for a council of ministers to aid and advise the president. In this context, answer the questions. Number 1, what are the various categories of the ministers? The various categories of the ministers are the cabinet ministers, ministers of state and the deputy ministers. Each of them have their own kind of work. The cabinet is the top ranking minister and prepares the policies and makes decision about the country. The ministers of state may or may not hold important portfolio, but they assist the cabinet ministers, while deputy ministers assist both the other senior ministers. And question number 2B, explain their individual and collective responsibility. While teaching, I had said they are individually responsible and also are collectively responsible. Each minister is individually responsible to his or her own department. The minister holds office in the pleasure of the president. And the council of ministers is collectively responsible under the collective responsibility to the parliament. If a vote of no confidence motion passed against any one minister in Lok Sabha, the whole ministry loses power in the collective responsibility. Question C, briefly mention their functions. The top ranking minister is the cabinet. The functions of the cabinet is that they determine the policies of the government. They formulate the policies of the government. The cabinet holds the important portfolios. They attend the cabinet meetings and decides about the policies of the government. This much for now. We shall discuss about the next of the answers in the next class.